My Dear Ancestors by Junji Ito. It starts with this girl named Risa getting walked home by this man named Makita. The mother of Risa opens the door saying Risa's late, but Makita explains that's a strange story. He saw Risa on his way home from school. He said hi to Risa, but Risa didn't respond and she didn't seem to remember him or where she lived. The mom tries to get Risa to talk, but no luck. The next day, she takes her to the doctors. The doctor says that there's nothing wrong with her brain and it's probably just an emotional problem caused by an intense mental shock. The mom has no idea what could have caused this. The next day, Makita shows up to the house. The mom lets him in and brings him up to speed that she still can't remember anything and that she must have experienced something awful. Then she asks him if something like that happened at school, but he has no idea. He introduces himself again, but Risa still doesn't remember who he is. So he's like, well, look at the bright side. We get to start all over from the beginning. They can experience everything all over again like it was the first time. Later that night, Risa is distraught. Like, what is this feeling? What is causing this unexplainable dread? Then begins to hear sounds outside her door. A giant caterpillar enters. She starts to scream. Her parents rush to her room. When they enter her room, Risa says that there's a giant caterpillar here. But the mom chalks it up to her having a bad dream. The next day, Risa tells Makita that she's been seeing things like caterpillars. But why would you hallucinate something like that, he asks. Risa doesn't know, but she's scared they will come back. Makita says that they should go out for a walk and he'll start seeing things too if he was in this room all day. Risa agrees. They're sitting on a hill next to a lake. He tells her he loves her and he said the same thing at this very spot. Risa still doesn't remember. Now Makita wonders what it's like to lose your memory. Forgetting who you are is just scary to think about. Losing all your memories. But he reassures her at the end that they'll just need to make new ones. Out of the blue, he asks Risa if she wants to go over to his house. His dad's going to be asleep, so it'll be okay. So they head over to his house. Risa, hesitant at first to enter, goes in anyways. Makita makes sure his dad's asleep. Then Risa asks if his dad's sickness is serious. Then he goes into detail how his dad used to be a writer, but these days he can't put pen to paper. He used to write historical novels and stuff, and his mother passed away shortly after giving birth to him. While sitting down, Makita asks Risa why she's on edge, but chalks it up it's being her first time here. Suddenly, Risa starts to hear a noise getting closer and closer to the door. Makita says it's his dad. He must have woken up, and this is going to be our second time meeting him. The door opens. Feet enter first. He's laying on his back. Enters the kitchen. The dad tells Risa, thanks for coming. He thought he'll never see her again. Makita tells his dad not to push it and that he should go to bed and get some rest. Then the dad starts talking nonsense, saying that he doesn't want to be rude to Risa, who's going to marry his son. Makita reminds his dad that Risa lost her memory. The dad responds that nothing time won't heal, unlike him, who's getting worse with time and doesn't have much of it. He asks Risa to take care of his son when he's gone. Makita gets mad, saying Risa doesn't remember she promised to marry him and he's only making it worse. The dad apologizes, and before he leaves, he says, please take good care of my son, daughter-in-law. She quickly turns to him with a worried look. Later that night, Risa is at home experiencing a sense of dread and is thinking, what sort of horror could I have witnessed? Something so horrific as to lose my memory? And it's gotten worse since she went to Makita's house. She begins to think that the house might hold the reason behind her amnesia. Suddenly, her mother enters the room saying Makita is here to see her and to come down the stairs. Hurry. She goes downstairs. Makita says that his dad's about to die and he called for her. She agrees to go over to see him. They run over to his house. They enter his room. Risa is shocked to see his condition and whatever we're looking at. Makita says he understands her surprise. The last time she wandered into his dad's room, the shock gave her amnesia and that her subconscious rationalized it as a huge caterpillar, hence the hallucinations. There are collective skulls of his ancestors. Their scalps are still attached. So are their brains. These skulls basically go all the way back to his great-great-grandfather. The minds of his ancestors stretch back beyond ages. He doesn't know what century the head at the start is from. What he does know is that they're connected by their offspring, by a bond of blood. Their brains are still living and still thinking. When his father joined his mind with their ancestors, he gained access to their memories. The dad starts talking, saying he can't hold on anymore, and tells Makita that he must hurry and that they need a progeny. Makita says back to him he knows he'll be a part of this lineup someday too. Risa in the background remembers everything now. Then Makita grabs her, saying, you remember me proposing to you, right? Do you remember how how you accepted it and that you say you'll marry me. But Risa says that was before all this. Makita tells her that there's nothing to be afraid of. She just needs to make a baby with him and that he's his family's last hope. If he doesn't provide an heir, the whole bloodline will end with him. Also, the knowledge kept over centuries will be lost too. He can't let that happen. Risa says she can marry him, then makes her run for it. Makita calls out to her saying there's nowhere to run. He locked all the exits. She trips over the scalps. She's on the ground. Makita walks up to her saying she can't outsmart them. Makita pleads with her saying that he's running out of time, and reaching for her, suddenly he gets a headache, drops to his knee. He notices his head bleeding. He gets up and goes back to his father's room. The whole scalp train retracts. Risa goes and peeks into the father's room and notices the dad's scalp is gone. Then in the dark spot of the room, Makita is hunched over and has all the scalps connected to his. Then his ancestor starts talking to him to grab Risa to fulfill his duty, but all these voices are overwhelming for Makita. However, he promises them that she'll marry him. Then he begins to chase after Risa. In the midst of the chase, she falls against the wall with a blank stare, losing her memories again. The ancestors talk among themselves now, saying now they can do the wedding ceremony and that their family is safe for another generation. Bonus short story: The Strange Pavilion by Junji Ito. It begins with the girl at a world fair, but it has a gloomy vibe, reflecting off the dark times. She's been waiting in line for 3 hours for the fair's main attraction, the pavilion, with an extinct cormorant that has been brought back to life. She makes it inside and sees the bird-like creature chained up and is amazed by it. The keeper tells her that in the old days, people used cormorants to fish. I wonder how they did that. Suddenly, the cormorant bites down on 2 people and swallows them whole. The keeper tells them to spit them out, and to my surprise, it did just that. The 2 people start dissolving though. The girl thinks, so this is how a cormorant fishes. The year 2105. Dark times look set to continue.